Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review. And in this video I'm going to review Jesus is King by Kanye West. After a very long time and after multiple delays, Kanye West decides to finally drop a new album. Recently there has been a lot of controversial with things that Kanye West has said. Big surprise, I know, but there was a really weird period of time in his career, especially last year. 2018 was a year that had lots of ups and downs for Kanye West. Some of his views on politics and slavery got a lot of discussion and had a huge backlash for Kanye West. In terms of an artistic standpoint, Kanye West decided to produce 5 different albums, with each one being 7 tracks long. And the results were pretty interesting. I would say that some of the best production from Kanye West lands into some of these albums. His album Yeah was a reflection of himself, showing the struggles on being bipolar, which was a really nice concept and there were some great beats to this, but the whole subject felt a bit rushed and he could have tracked it a bit more and give more of an emphasis to it. But when it comes to projects like Kids See Ghosts and Daytona from Pusha T, we're talking about 2 of the best produced hip-hop albums ever. Albums like this truly show how much of a musical genius Kanye West can actually be. And then after this point, he teased a new release at the end of 2018 called Yandy. And there was a lot of talk about this project and it would constantly get delayed and delayed. There have been some leaks from the album which were roughly produced, but everyone was expecting an album for a very long time that never actually came out and probably never will, because nowadays we're in 2019 where Kanye West feels like he doesn't want to have any association with his rap past self anymore. With Jesus is King, Kanye West goes full Christian on this thing. So what he teased was a gospel album, a Christian rap album, and this album also got delayed like a lot. It was teased for about more than a month if I can remember, but now it's finally here. And this is indeed Kanye West going full Christian mode. There is absolutely no swearing to this thing as he promised, but still there have been some controversial things he has said here and there just to get people's attention, which is something that he constantly does. Is he going to do anything that he says? Probably not, because Kanye West is not always a man of his word. I mean, look at the delay of this release. He says that hip-hop is devil's music and that he's not going to make another hip-hop album. He's just going to focus on Christian music. And he also says that he's going to go back in every single album and just recreate the lyrics, putting off any swear word, which is something that I really don't know how he can be able to manage to do if he actually decides to do so. But other than that, Jesus is King is there, an actual Christian album going for only 27 minutes long. And yeah, people were actually anticipating this album for such a long time only for it to be 27 minutes long. And this album has gotten a huge backlash and I can definitely see why. For one, this album, in a sense, it sounds rushed. Even on this really short album, there are tracks that feel like filler, and it's all over the place into lots of different multiple stylistic directions, and some of them they don't work that well. And also the production to this thing sounds rough. Jesus is King has absolutely none of the glorious production from Kids See Ghosts and Yay from the previous year. And if there's going to be a redux edition on this album later, like it happened with The Life of Pablo, I am not going to be surprised. And of course my issue with this album has nothing to do with the direction that Kanye West has gotten with this album. If he feels comfortable on making an album showing his love to God, if he wants to make a Christian rap and a gospel album, I'm all for it. I don't care that this album has no swear words, and I was actually looking forward to what he could do in this direction. But I think that Kanye West could have done better with this one. And this unfortunately truly ends up being one of my least favorite Kanye West projects. And even though I'm not the hugest fan from every single project from Kanye West, I think he has lots of weak albums, I can at least give them credit for pushing the envelope of hip hop, and with almost each one of them being unique and innovative in its way. Jesus is King is definitely one of those albums from the Kanye West discography that does not feel refreshing at all. Instead, I was hoping that Kanye West would actually bring a really refreshing and different aura to this whole sound of gospel and Christian rap, because it is something that he has done in a really good fashion with tracks like Ultralight Beam. But there is so much lost potential on this thing. It's still though not a bad album. In my opinion, Kanye West, he has done lots of different okay projects, but none of them I could say that is actually bad or abysmal, and I would say that this is actually the case with this new album over here. Jesus is King is not the worst thing ever. I get why fans are so indifferent on this album, but there are some good moments on this one. There are tracks that I enjoy, and I'm just going to get into those moments of the album that I actually enjoyed a bit. And these good moments actually come from the beginning on the album. The opening to this thing every hour is a really uplifting gospel track with Sunday service choir and Kanye having no vocal presence to this track, which is something that I don't mind. Then we have the second track, Selah, which is definitely the most epic moment out of this entire album. This track gives me a bit of a Jesus vibe, and I just love the hallelujah vocals. I love that this track goes into lots of different phases into such a short period of time, and all of those work really well together, and it has a really cinematic feel to it. It feels like a cinematic experience, and I really enjoyed this track. And also by far my favorite moment out of the album has to be the third track, Follow God. It has a really simple beat to it, kind of an old school vibe, but I love the use of the sample on this thing. This is one of those occasions where Kanye West shows how much of a musical genius he can be and how he has an ear for great sampling choices. My only issue with this track is that it feels really short and it ends abruptly. I would love more out of it. It is something that I wish was also the case with the track on God, which is one of my other favorite moments of the album. I like this electrified beat to it, but still this track is quite short and I would definitely like more out of it. And so yeah, this album at first sounds really promising. It sounds like it has potential. There are some good moments at the beginning of this thing, but then with the rest of this thing, it totally falls apart and it becomes a big mess. And by far one of my least favorite moments just comes with a track Closed on Sunday, which definitely has one of my least favorite Kanye West lines ever. Closed on Sunday, you're my Chick-fil-A. Are you actually kidding me right now? Not only that, but this track definitely has one of the weakest instrumentals. I don't like this sort of acoustic guitar folky vibe to it, and it also has an abysmal outro with Kanye West just screaming Chick-fil-A! You can't write this up. Then the rest of this album, it's so forgettable, it's so boring, I don't even feel there is a reason to talk about it. It feels like almost unnecessary. Like, what is with the track Everything We Need, featuring Ty Dolla $ign and Clemons? The trap beat to it and the auto-tune don't sound good at all. And then there is the track Water featuring Clemons, which feels one of the most filler cuts out of this entire album, mainly because Kanye West has little to no presence to this thing. It's just him at the second half just saying Jesus is this, Jesus is that, and that's about it. Then the track God Is has some rough production and some of my least favorite vocal inflections from Kanye West. Then the track Hands On is one that I sort of like the instrumental to it. I like those bassy vocal inflections being part of the instrumental, and I like how minimal it is. It gives me a vibe to some of the tracks from Ye or from Kids See Ghosts. Then the track Use This Gospel has an awful feature from Clips and an absolutely unnecessary and out of nowhere solo saxophone part from Kenny G. And Jesus is Lord is just a short finisher, an outro that feels like a filler outro. And also I have to say that this album definitely has some of the laziest wordplay out of any Kanye West album. It's just Kanye West constantly telling you his love, about God, about Jesus. This is pretty much the entire concept of this entire album, and the wordplay of this album is just so repetitive, and there is little to no variation in his lyricism and wordplay on this thing. So Jesus is King is just average at best. I think there are some good moments over here, and I truly saw the potential for a good album. I'm pretty sure that Kanye West is capable of releasing a really great, really refreshing and unique gospel and Christian rap album. But this is not the case with Jesus is King. Instead, what we got here is a short, rushed album with lots of filler, really messy, and a quite lazy effort both lyrically and sonically. I'm going to give this album a 6 minus out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.